I'm MarzGurl.
I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And welcome to episode 118 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover Season 3, Episode 2 of City Hunter, titled The Greatest Flagrant Love Committed, How to Hit on a Beautiful Lawyer.
I think we said this last time, but amongst the hierarchy of women that you probably should not try to hit on.
I mean, you probably should just leave women alone,
For one thing, just leave women alone.
Or just work on your game to not be a creep. That would help a lot.
Cops are pretty high up there, and lawyers are pretty high up there. It just sort of feels like the wrong people to mess with.
You would think Rio would know better, but it doesn't seem like this happens very often in the show. In fact, I think this is the only lawyer I can think of.
There have been cops, though.
Oh, several cops, and surprisingly no lawyers yet. But here, we have a lawyer that has sought out the services of City Hunter.
Yes, very exciting.
And for what it's worth, I don't, I'll probably say this again at the end of the episode, I don't remember this episode being as funny as it was.
I don't know, yeah, this one's pretty good. I still hate Rio in his manga suit in animation.
In all white.
I can't, and every time I see this opening, I'm just like, man, this opening sucks.
We're thinking about it because it's not often, we were kind of going over it again just because, like we said before, we don't like this opening necessarily, but we were thinking about certain little things in the opening, okay, so you're telling me it's been 3 months in between the end of City Hunter 2 and then the start of City Hunter 3. In 3 months, you're telling me Coyote's hair got that long?
It was pretty wild. Yeah, that hair is really
no, she's
long.
Got extensions at that point. Nobody's hair grows out that fast in 3 months.
Usually.
She's got, what are we talking here? An extra 3 to 4 inches off the back?
Something. It's pretty nuts. And then Rio has to go and reach for his gun way across the room
just on a table.
When this helicopter is shooting at them through the window. Is that not holstered to you now?
When
Why?
does Rio ever just leave his gun out on a table? He's got such good discipline when it comes to that gun.
Usually, except for the time he asked, "Hey kid, you want to touch my gun?" You remember him doing that?
It was one time, and thankfully he learned his lesson.
Because the girl is it was the girl in the wheelchair, right?
I think so, yeah.
He was like, I'm gonna make you feel better because look, you see this gun is here to protect you, and she's like, can I touch it? And he's like, sure kid, here you go.
He thought it was a Make-A-Wish situation. He thought it would help.
I don't know. It's very rare that something shitty like that happens, because usually he's like, oh no, do not touch my gun. I might give you a different gun that you can handle, but definitely not this gun.
No, just don't give kids firearms. Just keep them away. We don't want this.
Anyway, don't be a parent that leaves a loaded gun out on the table. A kid might reach it.
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know.
Now that we've done that public service announcement, we can go ahead and get right into it.
Yeah.
So, we start off this week at the Asaoka law firm, where the one person who practices here, because it doesn't look like there's a lot of partners at this law firm, we aren't given her name yet, and it's important that we're not given her name up front.
Well, Asaoka, I mean, it's the...
Well, we know that.
That's her family name.
Yeah,
right?
we'll say that much.
Sure.
Miss Asaoka is here working late with her current client, who I guess we'll go ahead and tell you that guy's name up front, because we don't hear that till the very end of the episode.
Why are they so bad about that shit?
I don't know, I don't know if they're thinking they're building up suspense, or if it's what we figure it is, and they just kind of realized 3/4 of the way through the making of the episode.
It's every time, though.
It's a staple at this point.
You're trying to protect this person from who? Every time.
Yeah, every time.
Because really, the show is almost not even about the villains, right?
No,
because
not
it's
usually.
more about the people being protected than it is about the villains that are trying to go after those people.
Villains don't need things like names. What, are you kidding me? This ain't that kind of show. But we'll go ahead and fill in at least this guy's name for you guys. So this is a guy by the name of Noriyuki Ikeda. And this guy needed a lawyer for doing admittedly some kind of shitty stuff. He was in a lawsuit with some tenants on some property that he wanted to kick out so he could build a condo.
So, that sucks, but I guess legally you can do all kinds of shitty things. And so actually, Miss Asaoka did a good job, and she got him the ability to do what he wanted to be able to do. So she's really good at lawyering.
The unfortunate thing about lawyering is that in a lot of cases you have to put personal feelings aside and work for your client whether they're a piece of scum or not.
Yeah, she got paid. Actually, that's guess part of the conversation that's happening here right up at the top is that this Ikeda guy is like, here, just fill in this blank check with however many zeros you want to put on the blank check. And she's just like, well, that's very kind of you, but really, the bar only allows me to accept a certain amount of money.
Yeah, I can only take so much compensation for my legal fees. I'll take that much, thank you very much. I don't need extra. And so dude here clearly can tell that Miss Asaoka here is very attractive, so he's like trying to put the sleaziest moves on her, like, hey, why don't you and I go get a drink and get friendly? What do you think about that?
And she's just like, well, sir, if you ever need my services again, you can come back later. Like, she's being very business professional. She's not even being mean, right? She's just being very flat.
Very by the book, and then kind of shoos him out of her office.
He kind of lets it go, but it is still like an uncomfortable situation, right? Like, it would make me uncomfortable, because even as he's walking away, he's like, well, if you ever change your mind about wanting to get a little more friendly with me, you know, just give me a call. And she's like, okay, bye. Ooh.
This man is creeping me out. I don't want to see him again.
Also, hey, what's that over on the floor?
So she says she finds what's called an electronic notebook.
Which, I mean, that was a thing, but they kind of evolved into PDAs, into personal digital assistants. We don't even see much about it. We see this for like a total of 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And then we forget about it for about the next 20 minutes.
Yes, but this is going to be a case like last week's case where that is actually really important. So just remember that we said that up front.
I feel like this is starting to, I know this is only 2 episodes, but this is already, I'm seeing a pattern here of we need to Chekhov's gun something, and you're just not even going to remember that this was going to be a thing for like the entire episode.
I'm inclined to agree with you that that's the way this is looking. If it happens again next week, then yeah, we've got something there.
Yeah, because I don't remember what happens. Like, it's been so many years since we last saw this season.
So now we go over to the board at Shinjuku Station. Ryo is the one checking the board right now, and he sees that they do have a request from a Akira Asaoka.
At least that's how he's reading this name, because just as a reminder, you can read kanji in a couple of different ways depending on the context, and people's names often fall under this category, right?
Right.
Like, people write their name in kanji, and then a person looks at it, and they have to ask, oh, okay, well, how do you read it? You know, it's like asking somebody, oh, I see how your name is spelled, but how do you pronounce that?
Yeah, kind of like that. And the thing about the name Akira is it is a gender-neutral name in Japanese.
Akira is already a gender-neutral name, but also, some kanji can be read in 2 different ways.
Yes.
So, Ryo has just made this really huge assumption that 1, this kanji is read as Akira, and 2, he just jumped straight to thinking it was a dude. And he's just like, oh no, a dude asked for my help. Well, I'm not taking this one because it's a dude. He has made it just an enormous assumption, right?
But like, Kaori shows up behind him to be like, you're not taking a job from who now? Also, why are you checking the board without me again?
So, like, I feel like this is establishing that Kaori really feels like checking the board is definitely her part of the job.
Well, if you think about it though, was that not Makimura's job as well?
I guess that's true.
So it would make sense here that the other Makimura would be the one to check the board.
That's fair.
Because Ryo does all the heavy lifting and dirty work.
Well, anyway, Kaori reads the board and also just jumps to the conclusion that this person is named Akira and that it's a man, and she is thrilled about it because it means that it might be somebody that Ryo is not going to hit on.
And in either case, they've got a place to meet up. They have to meet at Central Park at noon, which we were able to kind of determine they meant Shinjuku Chuo Park.
Right, because it says on the board just Central Park, and like Chuo is central. Like, they left off the Shinjuku part of it, but I guess if you're from the area, then you know the difference between Shinjuku Gyoen and Shinjuku Chuo. So if you're just saying Chuo, if you're just saying Central Park, you know the difference between which of these 2 parks you're supposed to go to.
Right, like if they meant say Yoyogi, they would have written Yoyogi.
Yeah, so them only saying Central, I think anybody from the area knows exactly where you're supposed to go.
But that's tomorrow. For right now, I guess Ryo's decided to go out for the night, and he's decided to get drunk. This is his drinking night. He's not driving the Mini, thank God, so he's not drinking and driving.
No, he's just out here walking, and like, it's weird how we just jumped straight to this. Like, there's no context for it. It's just like, later that night, Ryo got drunk and started walking around.
Well, no, because he leaves Kaori saying, alright, fine, we'll take the case. I'm going drinking. And he just books it out of the station.
And now now he is drunk. We didn't see him get drunk. He just is drunk in the middle of the night walking down back alleys.
Kaylin, tell me, how drunk is Ryo?
He's so drunk, he knows the very first opening theme song to the very first season of City Hunter.
Like, he's in this back alley and he's just singing to himself, Ayo, Kiyonaide wo.
He knows the lyrics to the song.
And he sings a good chunk of the chorus there.
Yeah, he sings almost the entire chorus. And so it's just kind of fascinating that there are a couple of songs now that canonically exist within the world of City Hunter.
Well, yeah,
so Ayo Kiyonaide is now one of them.
Ayo Kiyonaide, Go-Go Heaven, and several of the other ones that you hear in other seasons played in the background. That means they exist to the characters.
Right.
The only one, if I'm not mistaken, the only song that doesn't exist to the characters, funny enough, is Get Wild.
Crazy.
Yeah, the one song that most people associate heavily with City Hunters, the one song, far as we're aware, they don't know exists.
I think it's kind of strange that the Netflix City Hunter film did not use Ayo Kiyonaide, because that was the beginning of their story, and that would have been the first opening. I think it's a little strange.
I think what would have been nice, and this would have been if I had been adapting it, if during that first scene when Ryo's running around the building with Makimura trying to catch up to Kurumi, if there had been, like, he ran past a karaoke room and somebody in the karaoke room was singing
it. Like, it doesn't, I don't even care how they do it. If they want to incorporate it naturally into the universe, like it's just in there, in the background, we've just made a reference to it, that's fine. I feel like the beginning of this story would have been a good place to do that.
But I will say, though, if they make a sequel, and by God, I hope they make a sequel, I need to hear Go-Go Heaven playing faintly in the background, because that has been established as a thing.
And I need it to be directly associated with City Hunter. Like, they need to, like, put out a commercial or something. They make a TikTok video like, you need our services, come to us, and you just hear bum bam ba ba da 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 da.
Yeah, that would be great.
Anyway, that's not this episode.
What's going on in this episode, though, is Ryo singing that opening theme, and behind him there's somebody in a, well, actually they're kind of wearing the outfit Ryo's wearing here at the very beginning of Netflix City Hunter. It's a trench coat and then an orange shirt and black slacks,
but also a hat
and sunglasses. Yeah, they're trying to hide their identity. And usually we've seen in other episodes that Ryo is very aware of, one, if somebody's following him, and two, if somebody's got a weapon.
Yeah, well, okay, so this person does pull out a weapon. It's gun-like, it is gun-shaped, and fires, and this little bullet thing hits Ryo in the back of the head, but it's just an airsoft pellet.
Yeah, it's just a BB pellet.
It's just a BB pellet. So, here's what I'm thinking. Ryo knew that person was there. He knew the gun was there. This airsoft BB gun was there. And he knew it wasn't gonna kill him. And he could take a BB pellet to the back of the head.
Well, because
therefore, he just didn't even bother trying to avoid it.
He decided to take the hit.
Yeah.
Because I think in most cases, we've seen when someone else pulls a gun even, he can, like, hear the rattling of it or the weight of it somehow.
Sure.
So Ryo's at a level where he can hear that kind of thing coming. And I guess if it's plastic, he would recognize the lack of a sound, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Does he even hear plastic at all? Like, it's so not even a threat that it doesn't even
Probably
him?
not. Like, he was able to filter out as well. Like, he can hear what a dangerous sound is, and he can filter out what a not dangerous sound is.
Right.
So yeah, he gets shot in the back of the head with his BB pellet, and he's like, hey, who the hell did that? And this person is like, oh shit, and tries to run for it.
Just, yabai! I mean, they don't say that, but I just feel like their action is very yabai. And they go duck down this other alley around the corner, and Ryo's just kind of like, oh no, you don't!
well, this isn't Nicky Larson, so it's not lead don't, it's just
don't.
It
became Nicky Larson. I guarantee you.
Oh, I know. This episode probably got adapted. So he catches up to this person, and he's like, what are you doing? We find out once they start talking, hey, I was just trying to test your skill to see if you were worth hiring. And he's like, wait, hiring? What? Who are you? And the hat gets taken off, and she reveals, I'm Mei Asaoka. I tried hiring you. You know, the message on the board?
I'm supposed to meet you tomorrow, but I'm gonna just have to turn it down now, because now I know you can't even do this job, because you're just gonna take a bullet in the back of the head. And he's like, oh, wait a minute, you're telling me I misread Akira?
Oh, okay. So your name's May. Oh, well, I mean, now that I see that you're a woman client and you're an an attractive woman client, oh, why don't I have you really get to know me and my skills? Why don't we get a little closer here? And he tries to go in for a kiss immediately.
Of course he does, because why wouldn't he? This is Rio. And so she brings up, don't make me have to use Penal Code 36.
And so, us being the very inquisitive people we are, we decided to ask the question, what does Penal Code 36 mean in Japan?
Well, good news. That's a real thing. Just basic Googling, because thank God Googling still sort of works, although we are very close to just needing to transition over to Bing. I know that sounds like heresy, but
those are just the times we live in.
Google is just such garbage. But this time, it worked in our favor. So the very first thing that pops up is, under Article 36, parentheses 1, of the Penal Code, an act unavoidably performed to protect the rights of oneself or any other person against imminent and unlawful infringement is not punishable.
So this is to say basically that she can defend herself against an assailant.
And actually, like, we were having this conversation earlier about Kaori too. Actually, now that I look at this again, because this is written to say protect oneself or any other person against imminent and unlawful infringement, Kaori can protect other people from Ryo's bullshit.
So her using the hammer on Ryo is covered by Penal Code 36.
Yeah, this is similar to, I guess, stand your ground, I think, is kind of way too broad. A little
well, stand your ground if it was a hammer instead of guns.
Well, also, it probably used less badly than stand your ground.
So
a little bit of castle law. It is definitely self-defense.
What do you call eminent domain?
Eminent domain is castle law, yeah. But definitely self-defense. You are allowed to protect yourself in self-defense if what the other person is doing to you would have been illegal. So Ryo trying to assault people, like, that's illegal, but she would have been protecting herself. So this is like, alright, Ryo, you just keep coming at me, and if you get hurt, it's your own fault.
Well, he's gonna keep coming, so what's she gotta do? Nutshot.
And he goes down. She knew that, as a lawyer, she knew she was in her legal rights to be able to do that. But Ryo is like, no, that's gotta be assault. And like, she doesn't even entertain that because she knows he doesn't fucking know the law. He doesn't know what the
whole thing about city...
Because even Ryo is like, the penal what?
Well, the way they subtitle is the penile what? It's that old Animaniacs joke, you know, excuse me, what'd you say? The penal code, the penal code. Good night, everybody.
yeah, which, I mean, he's not saying that in Japanese because, like, penal code doesn't sound like penis.
Right, because it's a different word.
It's a different word. He is very confused, though. He doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about.
Because the whole thing with City Hunter is he's like Batman. He's outside the law.
Yeah.
But once Ryo recovers from this nut shot, he's like, well, let me see about this case a little bit. And he's like, hey, you know, it's dangerous out here on these streets at night. Why don't I walk you home?
And she's like, no, I've got a car. Let me put my key in my car door. Ryo immediately knows.
Because we hear the flexitone go off again.
Oh shit! Something is wrong with this fucking car.
Get down!
So you think, oh god, a car bomb. And I mean, kinda. So
well, it's a low impact car bomb.
It is very low impact. It has just kind of taken the wheels off.
Blown out the tires
off
and
the axle.
Yeah.
Maybe airbags have gone off in there, you know?
It has rendered the car immobile.
She is not injured, but she doesn't have a car anymore, and that sucks because cars are expensive.
And even back then, it would suck to have to replace all 4 of your tires.
Honestly, at that point, you really just need a new car. That's not just tires, it knocked the whole axle off.
Both axles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're looking at either an expensive repair bill, or you might as well go down to the lot.
I would go down to the lot, personally.
And since this has just happened, she decides, alright, I'll fill you in on this, Ryo. It seems that this has been happening to me for at least the last 3 days, that there have been all these weird incidents happening to me. So, alright, let's go back to my office. Let's see if we can find out anything else. And so Ryo walks May back to her office, and they notice as they're walking up on the sidewalk that if you look up at her office, which is on like the 2nd or 3rd floor, that the lights are on in her office.
And she's realizing, wait a minute, I turned the lights off when I left. What the fuck is up with that? And she just takes off. Like, I don't understand. She specifically went to go find City Hunter to help protect her because she knew something was wrong. And her dumb ass decides, hey, what's going on up in my office? And just takes off. off. Like, no, you already know you're in trouble. Let the guy who you're trying to hire go up in there.
See, this is a whole thing about self-preservation and risk management, if you ask me. Because I don't know if I told you this. So earlier this week at my job, we've been trying to fix our fire system, and we had a fire drill. And the way the fire drill worked was, because they're working on the fire system, the alarm system weren't actually on at the time. So they had to go around and physically tell a certain amount of people, like our leads at work, hey, tell everybody the fire drill is happening now. So you need to act like the fire drill is happening right now, like you can hear it. And only so many of us in my department got out, so to speak, because we have a rally point outside the building that we all have to meet up at. It's like that at a lot of jobs.
And you know, school. If you ever went to school,
right,
that's
exactly.
what this is like.
And the thing of it is, when somebody told me fire drill's happening, I ran. I'm not gonna ask.
You're not supposed to run, though. You're supposed to go out in an orderly fashion.
Hey, no, screw that. I want to live. And if I'm the first one, because that's what happened. I was literally the first one out the door, and everybody was like, where are we supposed to go? Oh, there's Josh. Go follow Josh. He'll lead us to safety. And you know what? I did. And that's exactly what happened. And then as the drill's over, you know, the fire department's there with us being like, okay, you guys out here, you did good. Here's your flyers. You can all go back to your stations. As like 70 to 80% of the workforce is walking back into the building, the 20 to 30% that didn't make it out in time because they didn't take it seriously are walking up like, oh, it's over. And we're all just clowning on them like, ah, you guys are dead. You burned up.
Well, all of you would be dead because your alarm system doesn't work. Excuse me?
That's why they're fixing it right now. Or they were fixing it that day.
Okay.
It's just, there's certain things like, if you know there's danger, you run away from danger. You don't run towards the danger. If they tell you, hey, the fire's happening over here in like the break room, don't run towards the break room.
So, I mean, even Rio is like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Get back here. What are you doing? And she's up here like, what's going on in my office?
Because the office is trashed.
Yeah.
Clearly, and Rio says this, well, clearly they were looking for something. You must have something in here that they want, whoever this is. Do you know what they want?
And she just has no idea what that could possibly be.
And then outside the window, you hear a...
Oh, no. There's like a little helicopter,
like mini helicopter
drone thing, like more
it's
like an RC.
No, it's a one-seater helicopter with one dude in it.
It was that big? I thought it was smaller than that.
No, it's this really small. I've only seen it in like a couple of animated things, in other things.
Sure. I mean, I've seen one-seater helicopters before. That's fine. I just thought on screen this looked significantly smaller than that.
I get that. It was a matter of perspective,
yeah,
but like still, whether or not it was a manned thing or a drone, the result is the same. Rio's like, oh shit, get down! And this thing opens fire. Why would you fake the car bomb if you knew you were just gonna shoot her later?
That's what I'm saying. And like, if you knew you wanted to kill her, then why didn't you make the car bomb more effective? You could have just handled the whole thing immediately. Like
was the car bomb a dud? Like, what was the point of that? You could have just done this way easier.
So anyway, Rio has had to just tackle her to the ground while this whole place gets shot up. I mean, we've seen him do this several times because his own apartment has been shot up many times and he's had to protect people in literally exactly the same way. And like the helicopter flies away, I guess there's some little man in there going, hey, I did it. And he just takes off. May is like, oh my god, Rio, he's face down on top of me. Are you okay? Get it together. Oh my god. Rio's just like, I'm not gonna die before I get more boobies. Because his face is just right up in her rack. And like
on the one hand, it's like, okay, it's noble of you to have used your body as a human shield.
But he's just used this terrifying incident in order to get a face full of tits. Like, what a horrible thing. Just what a bad thing. This is not a good thing that he has done.
And she'll come back to that in just a second, but for right now, she's listing off everything that's been done against her. So currently we're dealing with illegal possession of explosives, breaking and entering, property destruction, and now attempted murder. This is too much. I don't know what we're gonna do. And Rio's trying to calm her down, like, don't worry, we're gonna get this all figured out. And she's like, wait a minute, what's that in your coat?
Whoop. This was my extra bra that I just had lying around my Bengoshi lawyer office.
Translator's note, Bengoshi means lawyer.
Which is why I said Bengoshi lawyer. It's her lawyer office. I don't know why she just has an extra bra in the office, but okay, fine. And Rio had that for some reason, and he tries to pretend I didn't do the thing that you clearly caught me doing.
Somebody's tampering with evidence, and she brings down her own one guilty hammer on Ryo.
Give more women hammers, honestly.
Yep.
Women should just be carrying hammers at all times.
Women need the hammers to fend off both the men and the bears.
The bears are gonna come up a little bit later, too.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
You didn't even remember that part.
For 2 seconds, yeah. Okay, we'll trust me, it's gonna be good. So, as we're told here, Ryo and Mei stay at the law office to clean it up, and they stay the rest of the night, cleaning up everything in the office.
It is a really fucked up office.
Yeah, because now everything's full of bullet holes.
Yeah.
So they're coming in, like, first thing in the morning, back to Ryo's apartment, and they're walking in the front door, obviously tired. Ryo's like, hey, we're back.
In Pog form. Kaori's just mad that he's come back super late and he's brought back a woman and she doesn't understand the circumstances and she does actions before she asks questions. This is just very common of her. And she does pull out a hammer, but what is really interesting is, sure, we've sometimes kind of seen her materialize hammers, but this time the materialization of the hammer is legitimately like
a magical girl.
Summoned out of, like, you see it pop into existence with a flash of light.
Like a light construct. Yeah. Made this hammer out of nothing to bring it down on Ryo's head, and at the last second he gets across to her, no, this is our client for the week.
She doesn't connect with him, so she's got decent hammer control this week.
And I guess Ryo must have been talking her up because Mei looks at her and is like, oh, a giant 100-ton hammer. You must be Kaori.
Well, she's not wrong.
So they have to explain to Kaori, yeah, the office got shot up. This is what's going on. Her name is Mei, not Akira.
So even Kaori has to be like, oh, I guess I screwed that up too. Like, we really just jumped to assumptions.
But now that she's on the same page, Kaori's like, alright, I get it. It's kind of our usual fare. Don't worry, I'll protect you from the Mokkori man over here.
It's weird that Mei is like, well, the Mokkori man, I wonder who that is. Are you kidding me? Like, the guy who just put his face in your tits and tried to keep one of your extra bras? You're confused about who she's talking about?
Here in court, can you point to the Mokkori man here?
Yes, he's sitting right over there, with my underwear in his mouth. Like, what? This is mine.
Which, it's only because I did that. Just a quick sidebar for the movie we forgot to bring up. In the Netflix movie, when they're at the cosplay show and Ryo's ogling the other cosplayers there, he does do an Akira Kamiya-esque laugh.
It's similar. Even in interviews that we had recently been watching, he said he was trying to be conscious to not do an Akira Kamiya impersonation, but just due to the nature of who Ryo is, at a certain point, that's just what comes out, because that's what the character is.
Right, exactly. So at certain points, he couldn't help it. That's just what it called for. And so briefly, we're shown an exterior shot of the apartment, and we see a guy. We don't know who this guy is. We assume he's working for somebody, parked outside the apartment and looking in to see what's going on, to see where Mei is.
From the car window.
But now we have to talk about, now that we're seeing the exterior of the apartment, like a real clear shot of it, there's been some changes here.
And I know this is going to sound really nitpicky, except in a second, it's not going to be nitpicky. It's gonna be like, really, holy shit, what have they done to this apartment building, right? Like, you might remember from the last 2 seasons, it has been over 2 years straight, okay? Right. This building is just this red brick building. It's flat. It's just got 4 sides. That's it. There's buildings that are a little distant from it on either side, usually. Sometimes they, like, forget how close buildings are, but whatever. And then there's just, like, practically nothing on this land, this lot around this building.
Yeah, like, it's damn near an empty lot save for Ryo's building.
But now, there's, like, an addition to the building or something. Like, they built a front entrance jutting out with more rooms going up.
Well, like, you can now see the way they've drawn it. You can make out a stairwell.
Yes.
On the side of the building, which we couldn't really see before.
Right.
Because of the architecture of the building being fairly consistent throughout most of these seasons. But also we're noticing, like, there's a tree now on the left side.
Yeah, it's not growing. Like, it's a really plain tree. Like, maybe it's just the time of year. The leaves aren't growing.
Well, it's fall now.
Yeah. And really, we weren't paying attention attention, but the building does look like this in the last episode too, for like the 2 seconds that you see the building, right? So this season, it is like we are seeing their apartment building kind of change and the setting around it. And like the lot too, in the first episode of the season, it's like they have pulled up all of the asphalt that might have been there before, and now it's like dirt. So like they're preparing to do something with the grounds of this lot. And then this episode, what? Did they put like there's a little bit of grass there?
Yeah, it looks like there's grass now.
Yeah, so they've seeded the lawn? Like,
one, they have a tree, now they have a lawn. On top of that, now they have a sidewalk.
And again, the jutting out of this add-on to the building, right? With a front entrance that is jutting out, and, you know, it also goes all the way up to the 5th, 6th, however high it goes.
Fifth floor.
The 5th floor, right?
Or just below the 5th floor, yeah.
Yeah, so the building juts all the way out, up the entire length of the building. And so now we are gonna go back inside this building, now that we have seen this villain sitting out in this car staring up at the building.
So we've covered before on the show that we are aware of what's on at least 2 of the floors and 2 of the basements, because we know there's the gun range on the bottom floor, as we understand it. There's the garage just above it. Whatever's on the bottom 3 floors, maybe there's that giant open space that we saw in the Magician episode.
Sure.
And then the top 2 floors are for Cowdy on floor 4 and Rio on floor 5. So we don't know what's on floors.
Well, we know Rio lives on the top floor?
Because Cowdy's on the floor beneath him.
Okay,
so like by logic, he has to be on the top floor.
Okay, but so now, suddenly, we are in this large office.
This like library almost.
Yeah, it's like an office library, and there's a shit ton of books in here, right? Just so many books. A tomato plant or something is in the room.
Tiny little tomato plant.
Growing one little cherry tomato on it. And here's May sitting in front of like a Tandy computer.
This old ass computer.
This old ass Tandy or an IBM or fucking something.
Well, maybe it's an IBM. It might be an IBM.
I don't know. Tandies, though, were about that time, too. But it's one of these computers, like, the screen's all green, and every single tap on the keyboard is deep, 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 boop.
Right,
they all sound like this. And I'm just going, wait. When did we get this room? Is it part of this add-on that is jutting out now?
I don't even know, because, like, I'll say this much. At least in Netflix City Hunter, you can tell that on the wall in the corner, Rio does have files. We assume on other cases, or maybe phone cards and contact lists for different hostesses there in the Shinjuku area. Fine. But at the minimum, you figure Makimura, back when he was still his partner, was keeping tabs on, okay, here's all the cases that we've done, and here's how we're keeping records, and this is how I keep all the books. You would figure you would need to do something like that, right? Mm-hmm. But as of yet, we hadn't seen anything like that in Rio's apartment. This is the first time we're seeing something like that.
Now we know they've got a personal computer in there too, which, it's 1989, that shit's not exactly cheap.
No.
I don't know whether or not they have internet. That's a little hard to tell.
I sincerely doubt it.
I have my doubts that they have, and it would have been, like, BBS bullshit at that time. Like, it would have been almost just
it wouldn't have even been usable by our standards.
It would have been Usenet kind of bullshit at that time, right? But all May is trying to do is some work. And I'm like, what do you mean she's trying to do work? She can work on this computer?
Was she doing just word processing?
Maybe she's just word processing. Like, did she bring some floppies over? And, like, she's just, like, what could she possibly do? So she's using this room to do lawyer shit on the City Hunter personal computer in the giant library office that now suddenly exists.
A room that we had never seen before.
And Kaori comes in to serve her tea and stuff. I'm so stuck on this. Like, when did this get here? They just built an add-on to this apartment in like 3 months.
That's crazy.
Oh no. When? When, Josh?
I don't know. In any case, you're right. Cowdy does bring her some tea. Like, hey, May, I see you're working hard. Why don't you take a little break here? Which this is going to become the overarching idea of this episode is don't work so hard.
Yeah. We need to make sure that May remembers to take breaks, that she remembers to have a good time and actually be a happy person that is not, like, her entire identity is not being a lawyer.
But to that end, Cowdy is trying to show May that she actually quite largely respects her and the kind of work she does. She's like, man, it must be really hard being a lawyer, isn't it? Especially as, like, a professional woman doing it.
She also really really leans into the idea, like, it must be hard to protect people legally even if you know that they're not a good person. Like, that's your job, is to protect them even if you know they did something bad. And she goes, oh, I don't think of it like that. It's just that every person has this human right to the same protections as everybody else. Which, I mean, that's great. It's the same basic idea as how the law is supposed to work over here, too, in the United States, right? Like, the idea that you have the right to a competent attorney. Everybody should have that right.
Usually. Whether or not you actually get a hold of one, that's a completely different story.
And one that knows how to do their job.
And actually practices the kind of law that you need.
Some people don't get that.
And sometimes that's funny. And while Cowdy and May are talking shop about, the difficulties of their jobs, Ryo is actually putting in a call to Sayako down at the police station, which we find out is actually over in Chiyoda. Because we see outside the building the sign for Sakuradamon Station. The stop to get off there is right outside of the police station.
Yeah, so now we know that the police station where Sayako works, because Sayako is in this building, is like 2 wards away from Shinjuku. I mean, it's fine. Shinjuku is Tokyo. She is where she needs to be right now.
Yeah, that would make sense.
At the moment, she is doing police work in her jurisdiction. That's fine. I say that the way I say it because, one, you already know, she has gone outside this jurisdiction several times. I'm going to need to talk about this again later.
You will. You absolutely will. So Ryo's calling her up, and Sayako answers the phone here. She's like, hello, how can I help you? And Ryo's like, hey, we were calling to talk to you about your Mokkori warranty. Pay up.
And the whole office can just hear the screaming coming out of this phone. Like, what the fuck? What kind of conversations are you having on our work phone?
Like, this is a different kind of collect call.
And this is at least the second time this has happened, because this happened in 357 Magnum as well.
Yeah, where Ryo's calling her up to ask about things.
Right.
And so they're having to barter between each other. Like, really what Ryo's calling about is that he needs a favor, and he knows that the only currency he has to work with is favors. Favors in quotation marks
and
here.
She's like, okay, well, I'll do you a favor, but you need to strike 3 favors off of my record. And
Hell
he's
no,
like,
it's one favor.
No.
One favor. I'll do it for one favor.
And she refuses, but Ryo is willing to barter, like, okay, I will knock 2 favors off. And she's like, fine, deal, for 2 favors, which I still think is kind of shit, but fine.
She's like, all right, what do you need? And he's like, I got a lawyer over here that I need some background information on. Can you tell me everything you know about Mei Asaoka? Can you? Thanks, bye.
There's this one shot of Sayako having this phone conversation that's like really weird while the office is like watching her, like, what is this weird conversation she's having? And like it pans across the office, and for whatever reason, Sayako's face is just really tiny and not detailed, and there's no shading on her skin at all. So just like, there's no detail in her face, her neck, there's no chin, there's no neck, it just all
She looks really funny.
It just all connects to her body, and she's just one flat skin tone. I don't know, I just thought it was just a really goofy looking drawing.
But she agrees to it, and for whatever reason, when she repeats back the name of the lawyer, Mei Asaoka, the whole office perks up like, oh, that name, we know that name.
Like, I guess this is relevant to them somehow.
And she's like, all right, yeah, I'll get back in touch with you. And so we go back to the apartment, and I guess right after the phone call was done, Ryo's like, well, I've done enough work for today. I'm going to reward myself by playing the Famicom we now own.
Yeah, because we've had this discussion before that they had what I believe we decided it was a Sega Master System.
Right, yeah.
Right. It was just extremely similar to a Sega Master System in the last season.
Yeah, because we could tell by the controller he was using,
right.
too.
And so this is just like that, but it's even closer. Like, this is almost exactly, this is a Famicom, and I can reference that from my own Famicom sitting on the shelf right now. I was
just
like,
a few feet away from us,
I was just looking at it like, that is a Famicom controller. The cord is coming out of the corner just like a Famicom controller. It's kind of red and gold. Yeah, that's the thing.
Unmistakably, it's a Famicom.
And then we also see a shot of the screen. We see what game he is playing. We're sitting here like it's a fighter jet. It's clearly a fighter jet. jet, and from the angle, you are rear camera behind this fighter jet, right? So we're sitting here thinking, oh, what could it possibly be? And we went through, is it Gradius? No, because Gradius is a side-scroller, so it's not Gradius. Wait a minute, is it Afterburner?
It's Afterburner.
And there was an Afterburner game that was released.
Afterburner 2 came out in 1987.
Both Afterburner and Afterburner 2 were Famicom games.
Yeah.
So he's clearly playing Afterburner because it's that camera
it's
behind
that angle, yeah.
the angle of the camera directly behind the fighter jet.
That man is playing Afterburner. So the idea here is that May is kind of wearing herself out trying to do this case, and she's got the door open to this law office there inside of Ryo's building that we just found out exists. And she can hear the noise coming from the living room where Ryo's kind of getting into it like, yeah, all right, level 6, let's go.
And actually, I also want to kind of point out, you can see the pixelation of this tube TV.
Yeah.
They took such detail that they put a filter over the screen of the TV to make, like, extra sure it looks like a tube TV.
Like, if any of you listening, because I don't know what the demographics are here, if any of you listening were, like, late 80s, early 90s kids, and you ever put your face right up to the TV when it was on...
And there's, like, itty-bitty little dots, and each dot has to line up. And that's kind of true of TVs now, too, but the spacing, like, it was not the tiniest of dots that we have now.
Yeah, like, you can see the diodes there, and it's like, oh my god, it looks exactly how it should. And it's only for, like, 2 frames.
Well, that's a little more than 2 frames. It's for 2 seconds, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I meant. But it's just, on a TV, on a tube TV in 1989, you would not have been able to make that out.
Well, I don't know about that, but it is weird that they felt like they needed to add that extra dimension when you would be watching it on a tube TV in the first place.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think you would be able to see it. I just think, wow, they really, like, we have double layered this pixelation of this game, right? It's crazy.
What happens is May comes out of the office to see what's going on, and she notices Ryo playing this video game, and Ryo's like, hey, this is kind of a fun game, you want to play?
Because she has come out and she looks like really interested, and maybe even just interested in Ryo, like, oh wow, that's so cute, he loves Afterburner, that's adorable.
I don't even think she knows what Afterburner is.
No, I know, I'm just like making up a bunch of...
But she's like poking her head out from behind this like curtain that's separating one room from the hallway, and she kind of like puts her head back when he asks, hey, you want to play the game? And she's like, oh no, I can't do that. I don't play video games.
Or I'm just too busy with work. I don't think she thinks...
you're probably more accurate on
I
that.
do not think she has a problem with video games. I think she wants to be interested in video games and in Ryo because he looks like he's having fun. And she is just so committed to her job that she's just bothered that, oh no, I shouldn't have been interested in him and the video games.
I don't need these distractions. And so Ryo, in like the fastest 4 frames I've seen him do it, very cartoonish, comes through this curtain and is like got both arms wrapped around her like...
I might need to use a screenshot of him taking this leap from behind the curtain because there's no way we can describe this with just audio. This cartoony lunge that he does is very cartoony. I love the rubbery look to these couple of frames.
And he's got the really cute face on, drawn on his face in between frames. And very quickly pops through the curtain. He's like, oh no, come on, you'll enjoy it. And then just as quickly pops back through the curtain.
And then sits her down on a floor cushion in front of the TV where you can clearly see the Famicom is sitting on the floor and the cord is going up to the TV.
I thought it was interesting that there on the mantle there where the TV is, he's got a couple of little pieces of equipment there. Like he's got the stereo.
Memorabilia and stuff, yeah.
Like we've seen him with the stereo in other episodes. But
it's
also
got like a CD player and a tape deck and stuff,
But he's also got like an American football.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was interested in football. Does he watch football? Does he play football? And like, oh wow, I really need to buy a football. When does he throw this football around? Or does he just use a football as decoration?
Or did he just buy it one day, not say anything? Cowdy comes home with groceries, like hands full of groceries, and he's like, Cowdy, catch! And she's like, what? She just takes one in the face.
I don't know. But also, he's got a little toy Mini Cooper up on the shelf, too.
Which we noticed in the movie, in the Netflix movie, he's got also a little toy Mini Cooper there on his shelf there, too.
That is
so that
true.
was a nice little thing that they caught and brought over. But no, she's there. May's there playing the game, and she's kind of getting into it.
Yeah, like, at this point, I would definitely be like, hey, I kind of like Afterburner. Like, she's not super bad, but, you know, she does kind of mess up. And in this moment where she's kind of frustrated, like anybody would be, she looks to me like she's just about ready to be like, oh no, I'm gonna get back in there and I'm gonna try and go again. But she realizes, shit, I have got to get back to work.
She gets really self-conscious.
Yeah, she gets self-conscious about it. Like, I can't be doing this. I got too much else to do. What am I doing? Oh no, I gotta go.
And so she goes back through the curtain there, and Rio's like, oh, okay, well, if you want to play it, it's still here. And then she's kind of like just smiling to herself behind the curtain, like
he was cute, and Afterburner was pretty fun too.
So I guess Rio got the idea of, okay, I see how to play this. I know what she needs. So the next day, she is taken away from all of her work, and Rio, Cowdy, and May all go to a theme park. And we were here trying to figure out which theme park they went to.
This is definitely one they've been to before, too. We have seen this very specific one in some previous, maybe even the first season.
It might have been the beginning of season 2 also.
It's much earlier. It was significantly earlier.
It was either a theme park in Asakusa or it was Yomiuri Land.
I feel like we have discussed Yomiuri Land before
I think
in the past.
more than likely it was, but just because of the architecture, it might have been this one in Asakusa.
Entirely possible. So I'm not totally sure. Either way, like, I feel like this is also a theme park that has been referenced in other anime from the late 80s to the early 90s.
Right, like Sailor Moon and all that.
Looks very similar to a theme park that shows up in Sailor Moon as well. Now, mind you, it was the 80s and the early 90s where Japan was having this crazy-ass boom of theme parks. Just exploding in little bitty theme parks popping up everywhere, which is why now we've just got a bajillion rotting, abandoned Japanese theme parks all across that country for some reason. They just all shuddered.
And YouTube creators rejoiced.
They sure did.
But no, here today at the theme park...
That is not closed.
That is not
very
closed.
Bustling.
Everybody's having a good time. We're going on roller coasters. We're doing shooting games.
We're buying cotton candy.
We're riding the teacups. You know, you bring up the cotton candy, and apparently May, she's so, like, uptight about keeping up this visage of looking like a professional.
Never wanted to be seen eating cotton candy. What a sad life.
Yeah, so, like, Rio and Cowdy are trying to reassure her, no, get the cotton candy. It's cool. We can do that. We grown.
Also, let's all three of us eat the cotton candy. We don't care.
It's, everybody's chilling, having a good time here. And then at a certain point, Rio has to be like, hey, Cowdy, hold my shit. I gotta go take a shit.
That's a lie. No, he doesn't. Instead, he goes straight over to the Ferris wheel, gets in one of the carriages, and Sayako is sitting in one of the carriages for this Ferris wheel so that they can have a secret cop meeting in the Ferris wheel.
Because, it's not like they don't know Sayako, so I don't know why the secrecy there.
I don't know. It's so strange because Kaori knows who Sayako is, yes, and quite possibly May knows who she is, too.
Well, yeah, because she's a lawyer and she would work with the cops.
And there's other reasons that come up later that might suggest they met.
Right, yeah, so it's like there was nothing big about this, and also to get ahead of it, Rio's not gonna hit on her in this scene necessarily.
Right, why are we doing this weird thing?
This, spy meetup, but whatever, we're doing it. So Sayako is there to fill Rio in on who the guy at the beginning of the episode was, who we figure out, yeah, this is the guy who more than likely is going after May. Here's all his contact information. He's got a mansion all the way the hell out in the sticks in Izu.
So Izu is 2 prefectures away, and remember, prefectures are basically the size of some smaller states in the mid-sized states in the United States, right? He's 2 states away. He is you've crossed Indiana over into... what does Indiana touch? I don't fucking...
Chicago. I don't know. That's a city. Indiana, Minneapolis, Minnesota? I don't know. I wasn't good at American geography.
Americans just aren't good at geography. All I'm saying is we're 2 states over, basically.
We are not around the corner, is what we're saying.
That's where
here.
this guy lives. He's got a mansion that is 2 prefectures over, okay?
And Psycho's filling Ryo in like, yeah, this guy's kind of sleazy. He's buying up property left and right. We're pretty sure we can get him on something. We just don't have anything currently. But, we're looking into him. Ryo's like, all right, thanks. Let me get off the Ferris wheel real quick. And he's heading back over to where May and Cowdy are. Meanwhile, they're having this conversation right now about, oh, it's been so long since we've had fun, or specifically I, May, the lawyer, have let myself have fun. Cowdy's like, yeah, you need to have fun more often, but, I get envious of your job. And she's like, well, I'm envious of you guys. You live such a carefree life. It's hard being a lawyer and dealing with everyone's ego and greed, and everybody's got to be masked up.
And when she says masked up, she means everyone wears a mask, metaphorically speaking. That's the kind of mask we're talking about here, is like, you have to put up a visage of a certain...
Of like, professionality, right?
Yeah.
And so she's like me, for example, as a lawyer, to make myself look more fierce, I wear these fake glasses.
Your glasses are fake? What the fuck? I've been lied to this whole time.
And she's like, yeah, and I'm not really happy about that. And then as they're having this conversation, we see they're now in the background. In the foreground, we see this kid dragging a mascot like, hey, come here.
Like a guy in a mascot suit. And the mascot suit is Godzilla?
It's clearly Godzilla. Like, there's no 2 ways about it. The only thing missing was the that's all that was missing. And so to establish that there are mascot characters at this park. And so behind Cowdy and May, 2 other mascots show up. One rabbit and a bear.
And well, this is just the perfect timing for us, at least, because I know it's 1989 in the show, but for us in 2024, there's been a very large conversation happening on social media about if you are alone
as a woman,
would you rather have to see a man or a bear?
Just alone at night on the street.
Alone in the woods, alone anywhere, honestly. And so Kaori sees these 2 mascots come up behind them, and
the rabbit is next to May and the bear is approaching Cowdy.
And Kaori's like, oh, don't worry about us, go hang out with the children, they want to have fun with you. And then the bear just kind of comes in with his hands like, covers Kaori's mouth, and she's like, oh no, am I being chloroformed? And
the answer is yes.
Her vision is fading out. So now I'm sitting here thinking, oh, this is what you get for choosing the bear. But really, this is just a man gaslighting a woman and
almost literally.
And also gassing a woman. Now men are masquerading as bears to make you freak out about bears instead of men. But it's a man in a bear suit. This is fucked.
It sure is.
This is bullshit.
And so Cowdy is knocked out there on the bench. They have taken May.
She's just gone. We don't even see her go. She's just gone.
By the time Ryo walks up, and she's like passed out, Ryo wakes her up like, oh my god, are you okay? And she's like, oh my god, the bears! I mean, May! Where's May?
And Ryo's like, alright, no, I think I know what has happened. I bet I know where she's gone. Alright, we're gonna go handle this. Let's go.
To the Mokkori-mobile.
And now we do cut to May having been thrown in like this cell.
This jail cell, which we can only assume, like, we'll get the context in a second, that it's out in Izu at this guy Ikeda's mansion.
Like, who has a mansion with jail cells in them? Who does this?
Drake?
Oh,
Kevin
no.
Spacey?
Oh, no.
I'm just spitballing here.
Alright, fucking weirdos, okay.
I mean, this guy was being a weirdo at the beginning of the episode anyway. And he's being very vague with May about, you shouldn't have betrayed me like you did. This is why you're in this mess. And she's just looking at him like, what are you even talking about? What did I do? He's like, you know what you did.
You just sit here, think about what you did.
What did I do? You won't even say it. Like, there's such a big problem just in the world in general of people not saying what they mean.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I've been in line behind people at, like, Jack in the Box saying, can I get an egg and bacon and a drink? And I'm like, egg and bacon what? They're gonna have to ask you that anyway. Do you want a burrito? Do you want a biscuit? What do you want?
Also, drink. Specify.
Yes, like say the thing you want. People aren't mind readers.
That's what I tell you all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess they have just driven across two prefectures
away, yeah. They're encamped on the top of this hill that overlooks this mansion compound, and dude's got pretty heavy security.
There's dudes with automatic weapons, there's like external cameras, and
we see the little mini helicopter.
Oh, yeah, there's a little helicopter. And again, it must just be perspective, because I still did not think this was a one-man helicopter. I still thought this was a significantly smaller helicopter. I really thought they just got kind of a large RC, right? I mean, I guess I'm just wrong because that perspective was very funny.
But I do like right here that Rio's like, well, it's a lot of guys. Well, time to get to it. And it's not like other episodes where he would make Cowdy hang back. This season, we're seeing that Cowdy is up in this. Like, she is actively a part of City Hunter.
To that extent, I like this season, okay? But, man, she has done some crazy bitch shit. She's got a truck.
Like a big-ass truck.
A Mack truck.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it's the size of a Mack truck, I would say, right? So, one, where'd she get that fucking truck? Okay? Did she rent
on such short notice?
I guess they drove this truck out here. Well, they would. How are they going to get back? Rio? They must have driven separately.
They had to have
driven separately.
Rio was in the Mini and Cowdy's in this, like, troop transport truck.
And she stops it at the top of this hill above the mansion. And she gets out of the truck. And there's, like, a sheet over the back of the truck. And she opens up the sheet. And she lights a wick that is in this fuse. And it just... And I'm like, holy shit, she's just loaded this truck full of explosives or something. And the truck is in neutral, and she pushes this truck down the hill to the mansion as it's going... I'm like, oh my god, she's just doing insane person shit now.
And at the bottom of the hill, you see all these guards being like, hey, what the fuck? And they see this truck crash into the side of the building, and thank god it wasn't heavy explosives.
No, I mean, the building's a little on fire just from the crash. Just a little bit, though.
Just a little on fire. It's still good. It's still good. But no, the back of the truck we find is filled with fireworks.
So really, it's just a distraction, because it has now given Rio the chance to get into where he needs to go, because all these dudes are running around like, oh my god, why is this happening?
Oh god, it's so pretty.
But Rio has gone into what appears to be
a giant terrarium.
A terrarium, like a botanical garden inside a greenhouse, like...
Which apparently this is where that cell was that's holding May.
Fucking bajillionaire with a terrarium with a jail cell in it or underneath it. I don't understand.
And also a small zoo.
We see as Rio's like walking around in this place, we see the opening bright yellow eyes of an alligator. Okay, so now not only is this really hot greenhouse with a bunch of plants in it, but also alligators. Cool. Just a fucking weird Bond villain for, like, the bad guy is just doing, like, petty shit?
Yeah.
It's just really petty shit, but also he's really rich with a greenhouse with jail cells and alligators. What the fuck is happening?
Like, is Ikeda Japanese for Goldfinger? Like, I don't know how that works. But no, Rio breaks out May very easily. He's already kicked the guards outside to sleep. They're starting to make their way out.
Whoa, wait. Like, he has popped into this jail cell, and she didn't even notice. She's sitting there looking really, really sad. And then he's like, hey, baby. And she's like, when'd you get here? And he's like, shh, let's go. And yeah, he takes her out of the jail cell, and he has, like you said, he's already kicked the two guards to sleep. So I'm going, wait, when did he do that? She didn't notice when he opened the creaking jail door that he walked in? She was so sad that she didn't even notice him walk in the room.
Remember, Rio's kind of got a little bit of Batman-level Houdini skill here. He can get out of things and move through doors and walls without being detected, sometimes.
So are you saying that he got in another way after kicking their asses?
Or maybe he was just that quiet. I don't know.
I don't know.
Look, the point is Ikeda is here, and he's still getting mad at her, like, how dare you try to escape? You guys aren't getting out of here. I'll feed you to my gators. And he opens the gate, and
there's like 20 alligators.
At least. And I'm like, okay, I can understand like a Bond villain having like 2 or 3. No, this guy's got like 20, 24 gators here in this conservatory, terrarium, whatever. And so Ryo's like, oh my god, he's got 40 gators. I don't know how he got...
We're just gonna keep multiplying the number of gators.
They're multiplying all the time. So he's like, man, I don't know how we're gonna handle it. I'm not gonna lie to you, May. There's 50 gators here. I don't know how we're gonna get past these 70 gators. I'm kidding. I remember I'm a cartoon character. I'm just going to hop my happy ass with you in my arms over these 100 gators in front of us. And that's it. He doesn't shoot the gators. He doesn't do anything else. He doesn't find an alternate route. He just skips like he's friggin' Bugs Bunny.
Now, I like the subtitles here. I understand why they've made this choice. They say, see you later, alligator, after a while, crocodile. I get it. I understand. Because there's some funny Japanese happening here, too.
There's a little bit of punnery.
It's not literal, but it is more alligator puns, right? He's saying, like, ali, wani, and wani is both, like, it's interchangeable for gator and crocodile, and then he ends it with something like arigata, like he means arigato. He means like thank you.
He's saying like alligator gozaimasu or something like that.
That's it's arigata. Yeah, arigat. God, what did he?
I think it was arigata gozaimasu. I think that's what he says.
Well, I don't think it ended with gozaimasu, but it was definitely a thank you alligator kind of a joke.
Yeah, it was punnery.
It was very much an alligator pun. It was great. It was good.
But see, what's cool here is, like I was just saying a second ago, in other seasons, the roles would be flipped. Like Cowdy would be helping sneak out the client while Ryo busts some heads. So right now, Ryo is the one sneaking out the client, and Cowdy's out front taking care of the guards with the damn bazooka.
She's just firing this bazooka off at people until, unfortunately, do you remember the one guy we've seen for like 2 seconds just sitting outside their apartment building like, that guy's back.
And that guy was never named. I'm not going to break this up because we've been doing good the last 2 episodes. This is the last we're going to see of him. We have to give him a name right now. So we already used Aviators Johnson, and we already used Steve. What do we call this guy before we dispose of him?
Gunman Dave.
Okay, Gunman David over here. Gunman David has a gun up to Coyote's head. Like,
in the back of the head, yeah.
Like, aha, you're done shooting off your bazooka, toots. And then Ryo shows up to disarm him.
He's doing a lot of punches and kicks. This is where I can see you would get this inspiration for, oh, actually, Ryo can really fight. And then let's put that into a live-action Netflix movie.
Because you're right, the way they're filming it is like the quick cuts of just one frame.
Yeah, that's how they've always done it, is that there is not a lot of super detailed, like, you think about modern shonen anime from the 2000s and on, where they really wanted to get super detailed into fights, right? That's not what these fights look like.
Well, yeah, it's 1989, we're not there yet.
They've done like 4 or 5 still shots, and then they pan or tilt the camera up and down and across to suggest motion is happening. So you just have to, like, in your mental brain mind, pretend that there's a lot of activity going on here.
And see, we were talking about this in the last couple of episodes. Like, right now, in the peak of the action, this is where we would normally hear footsteps playing. Like, you would almost imagine right when the disarm happens, you'd hear that.
But they haven't used footsteps since. Did we say it was like the beginning of season 2? They just abandoned it?
At some point around there, yeah.
So, explain to me why the music they've chosen to return to is, you know, the one, the stupid Frenchy sounding Italian. We're using the accordion in the background of this musical track. It's like not exciting at all. It's just this.
That one, yeah, like the, oh, I'm eating at the French cafe, I'm having coffee, not, oh, I am shooting the gun out of the hand. Like, I don't know what you guys thought. At least we didn't hear it 7 times in a row.
Right,
like
exactly.
We did that one episode.
The one episode we kept bringing it up, and now, unfortunately, because of that episode, I'm very bothered by it every time it comes up.
Right, exactly.
And it's to me, it's like, is it any wonder that the French decided, oh, this is a French person. No wonder we have to call him Nicky Larson, because, like, we just do the music in the background.
And it's still playing here as Ikeda shows himself, being like, like, oh no, you've ruined my plans, take this, and he's got his own gun shooting at Ryo. And to me, I think this is a reference here in recent anime in 2023 and 2024, the level at which Ryo, he's being fired on by Ikeda, and he's just barely dodging out of the way of the bullets. I think it's a reference in this other anime of, this is one you worked on, of Licorice Recoil.
Yes.
The way the main character Chisato is able to dodge bullets.
I mean,
it's the same kind of motion of Ryo is able to clearly read the gun barrel's movement in the slightest way to where he gets his face right out of the way of the bullet.
I don't think Licorice Recoil is making a reference. I just think this is a very common, holy shit, cool people do this.
Well, like cool people who can read the movement of the gun.
Sure.
And Mei's like, oh my god, he's amazing. He can dodge bullets. But no, he's able to get up on top of Ikeda here, and he's like, alright, game over, asshole. And he's like almost like dead center on his face. He aims a little high and just gives him a buzz cut.
Yeah. And I think he's done that before at some point.
He's done that like once or twice before.
He's just showing, I could have killed you if I really wanted to. But he doesn't, you know. He does not need to kill him. Because guess what? The Tokyo police have also driven 2 prefectures over
and Saiko's
to
pulling up.
arrest this man. Again, Saiko, what is your jurisdiction that you are allowed to do your work in? I don't understand. How many times do I have to have this conversation?
I don't know.
Saiko can't arrest people out here.
But she's over here like, alright, take him away, boys.
Woo!
Ryo's like, Saiko, what are you doing here?
Yes, explain to me. Please explain to me what you're doing here. Because I understand sending police out here. You know what you do? You, as a cop in Tokyo, call the Izu police and be like, hey, we got a guy over here and we need you to arrest him, and then we're gonna do a pickup or something. Like, you know? But that's not what's happening here. So anyway, why are you here, Saiko? Why?
So Saiko's like, oh, well, we were working on hunches we had about this guy, and also all of the information we gained off this little thing, and she holds up the PDA from the beginning of the episode.
The little electronic notebook.
And Mei's,
okay.
Yeah, Mei's like, oh, wait a minute, that thing, yeah. So when I found it at the beginning of the episode, I didn't realize who it belonged to, and like the good, honorable Japanese person I am, I just turned it into the police.
So wait. You had a client in your office, and literally seconds after he left, you found the electronic notebook. You even, like, opened it for a second, and you couldn't figure out this belonged to him, and just be like, picking up telephone, beep, beep, boop, hello, Mr. Guy that is my client, and we just did business. I believe I have something of yours. Would you like to come and pick it up? No, instead she takes it to the police.
But the inverse of that is that Ikeda,
right, and then
he left the office, and he doesn't call her to be like, hey, I left something at your place, can I come back and get it?
So he instead of doing this logical thing of going, oh, I think I know where I left my thing, I should go back to check to see if she has it, he instead jumps straight to, well, now I have to murder her.
Like,
what
he
are
took
you
it,
talking about?
like
This is insane.
This guy's an idiot. But also, Mei was kind of dumb, too.
She was. Which is strange, because she should be fucking brilliant. She's a lawyer who got this really shitty criminal off the hook for the last thing that he did.
Yeah. So it's like how many clients had you had recently? If you're the only person in the office, how did you not know that wasn't his?
I don't know, I'm so confused. Why did anybody do the things that they're doing? And Ryo, meanwhile, is just listening to this whole thing like, so you mean to tell me that in the end, I thought I was getting a favor done from you, but this whole time you were taking me for a ride so that you could piggyback off of my work, and really I gave you the favor because I just handed you this guy that we were trying to protect our client from this whole time. Like, Ryo is just flabbergasted.
Like, I know we don't see it this episode. You know, Mei had the money to pay because she's a lawyer, and apparently a successful lawyer. So she's got the money to pay City Hunter, but also it's the idea of, I don't know that Ryo and Cowdy are getting reimbursed for the deposit on that truck they just ruined.
I hope they just, like, stole one of his trucks off of his property.
I would like to think that was it. You know what? I'll headcanon that that's what happened. That way, they're not on the hook for that truck. But this whole fight has been happening overnight. It's finally sunrise again. And Ryo and Mei are here on this sunny hillside cliff, and they're kind of looking into each other's eyes like, no more masks for me, Ryo. I'm gonna be my honest, earnest self from now on. And Ryo's like, but there's one more mask we must take off you. It's the mask of love between a man and a woman. And they're about to kiss. And, like, Mei's kinda into it. Like, she's not pulling away.
I consent. Kaori comes in like, I don't.
And she comes in with this 1,000,000-ton guilty verdict hammer.
It's 1,000,000-ton. Which is funny, like, they actually did not translate that the number on the hammer was 1,000,000-ton. They did translate guilty verdict, but they did not translate that it weighed 1,000,000 tons.
And she gets him with it, and even Mei's having to ask, wait, Ryo, how come you didn't dodge that? And he's like, I don't know.
But the truth is he does.
He does know.
We know this from the end of last season. He knows that he can dodge the hammer if he wants to. He doesn't want to. So even though he was about to go in for this kiss with this other woman, it turns out he loves Kaori more than he wants to kiss another woman.
Because that's his way of saying that he loves Kaori more, is his allowing to get hit.
Yeah.
And that right there is where the episode ends.
It's not bad.
No, actually, this is kind of a fun episode.
Yeah.
I like this one more than I thought I did. Because, admittedly, yeah, it's been like, 3 years since the last time we saw this episode, I think?
Something like that, yeah.
And so going back over it here, especially now knowing as much as we know, it's a lot funnier to me. Like, I don't even think back then we caught that it was Afterburner that he was playing.
No, I mean, clearly I was able to tell, oh, well, that's a Famicom.
Yeah, we could tell that from the first viewing. There's no hiding that.
Yeah, but sitting there and thinking, well, what would he have been playing in 1989? And it probably was either Afterburner or Afterburner 2. Like, that's
like, for the second we thought it was Gradius, we got over that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, the perspective was totally wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But I think this is one I can more easily recommend to people because, yeah, Ryo's a little skeezy, but he's not as egregious as he was in, like, say, episode 1 of this season.
Great. Let's hope it stays that way.
I would hope that it does. So next week, we're dealing with a case of the old tried and true sitcom ploy of please pretend to be my boyfriend.
Oh, this one is husband. We have to
or
pretend.
Husband, yeah.
We have to pretend they're fucking married, man. Like, we've gone all the way. Like, he's done fake boyfriend, fake engagement, and now we've got to do fake married.
He's gonna do fake engagement again next season. Or no, he's doing fake married next season.
Yeah, he does fake getting married in the process of the marriage ceremony.
Right,
next season. Yeah.
And again, it's another case of, like, everyone else consents except Kaori. I almost want to see that graphic now.
I consent. Kaori over here like, I don't.
Yeah, because that's the show in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So that one will be fun. We'll cover that next week. And we don't have to worry about the law in that one. No more lawyers for the rest of the season, I think.
I don't know that we'll ever see another lawyer.
And if only the world could be that lucky for us that we never had to see another lawyer ever again.
If only. So come back next time when we cover the 3rd episode of City Hunter 3, Even Kaori's Pissed, Ryo and a young lady's pitch hitter marriage story.
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on most social media. I'm at JoshKnightFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 118th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, Josh is gonna get married.
Kaylin, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're about 10 years too late for that.
What? To who?
Kaylin, you're gonna have to sit down for this. It might be a shock. It was you.
What?
That's why we're renewing our vows.
Already?